every 24 hours, your brain runs a life or death maintenance program. It clears toxic proteins. It consolidates memories. It regulates every major hormonal system in your body. It repairs damaged cells. That program is called sleep. And when you cut it short, even by just 1 hour, the effects are immediate, measurable, and in many cases irreversible if repeated over time. Today, we are going to look at what the science actually says happens inside your body when you sleep less than 7 hours. Not the vague you feel tired version, the biochemical, neurological, and metabolic version, the one your doctor probably doesn't have time to explain. Let's start with the brain, because this is the part that genuinely surprised me when I first read it. During deep sleep, your brain activates what's called the glymphatic system, a kind of biological dishwasher from neural tissue. It flushes out metabolic waste products that accumulate during waking hours. One of those waste products is beta amyloid, a protein that, when it accumulates in excess, is strongly associated with Alzheimer's disease. A 2019 study in Science journal showed that even a single night of sleep deprivation significantly increased beta amyloid accumulation in the human brain, particularly in the hippocampus and thalamus, both areas critical for memory and cognition. This is not a distant risk. This is happen every time you cut your sleep short. Now let's talk about what happens below the neck. Insulin sensitive. Just 1 week of sleeping 6 hours or less per night reduces insulin sensitivity by approximately 25% in healthy adults. That's equivalent metabolically to gaining significant body fat. The mechanism sleep deprivation spikes cortisol and suppresses insulin signal in men. 1 week of sleeping 5 hours per night reduce testosterone levels by 10 to 50%, the equivalent of aging 10 to 15 years metabolically. Ghrelin and leptin. Sleep deprivation increases ghrelin, your hunger, and decreases leptin. The results? You eat more, you feel fullness, and your body preferentially stores fat. This is one of the most underappreciated drivers of obesity, immune function. Subjects who sleep less than 6 hours were 4.2 times more likely to catch a common cold when exposed to the rhinovirus compared to those sleeping 7 hours or more. This was a controlled study. Same virus exposure, dramatically different outcomes based purely on sleep. So what's the target? The consensus from major sleep research bodies, the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, the Sleep Research Society, is 7 to 9 years for adults. Most research suggests 7 to 8 hours hits the optimal window for most people. But here is what I want to address directly. I only need 5 hours, person. Almost certainly you are wrong. Studies consistently show that chronically sleep-deprived people significantly underestimate their own cognitive and physical impairment. You adapt to feeling bad. You don't actually recover. True short sleepers People genetically capable of thriving on 6 hours exist but represent less than 3% of the population. You are probably not one of them. I am probably not one of them either. 3 practical tools that research supports. 1. Consistent wake time, even on weekends. Your circadian rhythm is an assistant that needs regularity to function. 2. Temperature. Drop of 1 or 2 degrees in your bedroom significantly accelerates sleep onset and improves deep sleep quality. 3. No screens for at least 30 minutes before bed. Blue light suppresses melatonin by up to 50%. Sleep is not laziness. Sleep is not wasted time. Sleep is the single most effective performance enhancing disease prevention. Longevity extend behavior available to you. Sleep is the single most effective performance enhancing disease preventing longevity extending behavior available to you. And it's free. If you are consistent sleeping less than 7 hours, I want to challenge you to try a 2 weeks experiment protect 7.5 hours of sleep opportunity every night. Not 7.5 hours in back scrolling, 7.5 hours of actual dark, quiet sleep time. Then tell me in the comments what changed. Next week, I'm going to share a patient case that fundamentally changed how I think about conservative treatment, a story about a man who chose not to have surgery and what happened next. It's one of my favorite stories to tell. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Let's move it to 100.